Support for this podcast and the following message comes from the Southern Environmental Law Center. SELC is one of the nation's most powerful defenders of the environment, rooted right here in the South, helping defend and protect our air, water, land, wildlife, and the people who live here. Learn more at southernenvironment.org.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around.
Support for this podcast and the following message comes from the Southern Environmental Law Center, one of the nation's most powerful environmental defenders, rooted right here in the South. As lawyers, policy and issue experts, and community advocates and partners, SELC takes on the toughest environmental challenges. That's why they say, solutions start in the South. To learn more about how SELC makes a difference, visit southernenvironment.org.
Turn me around, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on the freedom land. Keep on walking, keep on talking, keep on walking, keep on talking.
You're listening to Black Belt, a podcast where we amplify the voices of Black folks down South, working toward solutions to some of our region's biggest challenges, all with a dash of well-seasoned Southern fun. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Black Belt Podcast. I'm Adina White. This is part 2 of our dive into urban agriculture. We're talking about how Black farmers and growers are creating solutions to the lack of healthy food options in their communities. So before you continue, be sure to listen to episode 41 with Leroi Emerson, who serves on the board for Urban Patchwork. On this episode, we're talking to Gabriyel El-Bey. He's the owner and operator of Turtle Island in Little Rock, which is one of Urban Patchwork's farm partners. He's joined by Master Gardener Laverne Davis.
My name is Laverne Davis, and I live in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I grew up in Pine Bluff.
Well, my name is Gabriyel El-Bey. I live in Little Rock, Arkansas. My hometown is Elaine, Arkansas.
What makes me come alive is just seeing new growth and new gardens, everything growing in gardens. And at my house, I have a lot of flowers, and when I open up my blinds, I can see flowers from any direction that I go in my house.
What makes you come alive, Gabe?
For me, it's progress. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. That's what motivates me. Progress.
What does being Black and Southern mean to you?
Black and Southern means, being hospitable, and I would say just growing vegetables, canning, and just doing those things that my parents did. So that makes me feel, like Black and Southern.
Gabe, what does being Black and Southern mean to you?
To me, Black and Southern, to me, is country. It's people that's more in tune with nature, with the earth. And I find Black Southern people to be more hospitable than the people I meet on the East Coast and West Coast. So I guess just more in tune to the earth and just more grounded people.
I'm glad you said that word grounded again. I love that tie-in to the if you could change one thing about the South, what would it be?
If I could change one thing about the South, wow, that's a good question. Probably, change there's still a lot of prejudice in the South, and I can see where there's, a lot of things where, they want you to not progress. So I think I would want to see that changed.
Okay, Gabe, if you could change one thing about the South, what would it be?
Well, I can't say it's really a South issue, but a Western issue. I feel like we practice too much individualism. And if we had more of a group mindset, we have our own ecosystem. And But I don't think that's a Southern issue. I think it's a Western issue.
Oh, man. That's awesome. Now that we know a little more about Gabe and Miss Davis, we'll get into our conversation about Turtle Island after this break. Turtle Island is located in the South End neighborhood of Little Rock, and it's an amazing place to visit. I've been there twice now. It's a great example of everyday folks getting their hands dirty, literally, to combat the issue of food insecurity. And it was clear to see that they love what they do. My last visit was in the early spring of this year, and they already had rows and rows of produce starting to sprout. Gabe comes from a family of sharecroppers. As a child, he split his time between the rural community of Elaine, Arkansas, and the capital city of Little Rock. His rural and urban upbringing are what fuels his passion for growing his own food. Gabe talked about his original vision for Turtle Island, which began when he noticed a problem with the accessibility of fresh, quality food.
This area over here is considered a food desert. And if you look at all the areas close, it's unhealthy food. And a lot of people really live off the stuff out of gas stations and convenience stores if they can't find some fried food somewhere. So even with me living semi in this area, when I want healthy food, I gotta go into certain neighborhoods, white neighborhoods, to find fresh food. And even the grocery store that's not really close but semi-close, their food not fresh either. It was on Main Street, and it's not fresh either. So I don't have any intention of making anybody eat healthy, but for those that want to eat healthy, I want them to have a close option. So if you didn't have transportation, you really had to live out a gas station or convenience store. And I don't think anybody should live off of processed food for every meal. So I just became the thing I needed.
Gabe started growing food in his own backyard. When that became too small, he started using his neighbors' backyards. He would tend to the gardens and give them a portion of the food. He kept doing this until it got to a point where the backyard gardens were too far apart.
And I just felt that I needed a central location. And we're better than a food desert.
Boy, we need more airflow.
Yeah.
We need more. These need to be out in the sun. Put them in cookies or in a cake or whatever. This is lemon balm. Or drink a tea.
Gabe eventually purchased a former auto repair shop and transformed it into Turtle Island. He is working with Urban Patchwork, the network of farmers and growers that we talked about in the previous episode, to turn Turtle Island into a neighborhood food hub and commercial kitchen for growing, storing, selling, and socializing around food in the South End neighborhood of Little Rock. Gabe, as you heard in the call and response segment, has a progressive mindset. He told me he knew it would be successful if he just kept working on making it happen.
So if I want to do something, I'm stubborn enough to stick with it. And typically, if you don't quit something, you're going to win regardless, by default.
We have kale, we have beets, we have plenty of herbs and flowers that are beneficial for insects and flowers for pollinators.
That's the Master Gardener Laverne Davis. She's a regular volunteer at Turtle Island and has helped recruit more volunteers. She helped organize plant sales with prices much more affordable than the hardware stores. They even give some away.
They seem like they got their feet planted, and they are absolutely showing us some things. So this is the kind of place that I wanted to be involved in. I found this to be a place, a solid place, that I could volunteer, and then I've been promoting them. And I've gotten more and more volunteers.
Turtle Island's partnership with Urban Patchwork is a beautiful alignment. Urban Patchwork supplies Turtle Island with much-needed workers, and Turtle Island serves as a food hub, which includes hosting farmers markets during the growing season.
I look at plants kind of like babies. If you don't feel like it, if you don't feel like feeding that baby, you still got to. If you don't, like, it don't matter what you're going through. You have a responsibility. And if you don't have that I'm not gonna say a drive, but kind of like a stubbornness to lose yourself in your mission. It's just bigger than you. What you're going through, just as an individual, doing this type of work, go home with it. When you get home, you can take care of you. But throughout your whole day, it ain't got nothing to do with you. Stuff need to be done, and it's on a time frame. There's a system that's already created by God, and you got to line yourself with it. It don't care about what you feel like. So if you don't have the fortitude to really take that day-to-day abuse without instant gratification, you probably just need to do a little small garden in your backyard or something.
Gabe stays focused on finding solutions to problems he sees in his world. So in addition to creating the food hub and the farmers market, he's now working on building a commercial kitchen to meet the needs of the increasing number of food truck owners.
See, back in the days, the churches used to allow us to use the commercial kitchens, and they don't typically allow us to do that no more. So if you need a commercial kitchen, pretty much in this neighborhood, you're probably not going to find it. So that idea came later by just looking at the needs of this neighborhood and the surrounding neighborhoods. So I tend to look at problems and try to find solutions versus complaining about the problem.
Did I mention the bees? Turtle Island also has a personal hive. This food hub project at Turtle Island is also extending into educating the public who want to learn more about growing their own food. The Master Gardener Laverne Davis walks volunteers through the steps.
Some of the volunteers that's volunteering, they had never grown anything. So I am, I guess, the teacher. So I start with soil prep. And if your soil is not right, you're not going to get any growth. So I start with soil prep, and on a low scale. And then you also have to show them, so you have to teach. I mean, it's and show them how to do this. And I know 2 years ago, one of the teachers came and she just volunteered. She didn't know anything about growing food. And she didn't have a place in our backyard that she could grow anything. So we told her that she could grow food in containers. And she came every week for about 6 weeks. And she learned how to grow food. And she had some of the largest vegetables that I have ever seen. And she is still bragging about her garden on the internet. She's sending it out to everybody. And people I've met years ago, and then I'll see them again, and they say, "Miss Davis, you taught us how to grow this, and I got a garden now." And, that makes me feel good because I feel like I've raised a lot of children, But anyway, I guess I am a teacher,
During the summertime, we do different classes and courses. So we had the kids come down and learn gardening, carpentry, what was it? Not welding. We're going to do welding. Auto mechanic, and we plan on doing plumbing this summertime, but we haven't found a licensed plumber yet.
Oh, wow.
But during the whole summer, we have kids down and everything. So
they're learning
the
trades.
last 3 years, we've been able to support that through grants.
Oh, very cool.
So.
Of course, we had to ask them what their favorite foods were to grow and how they like to prepare them. They both answered leafy greens. Okay. Any tips for preparing those?
Oh, yes. I have a great recipe.
Okay.
Now, when I grew up on a farm, and we had animals and everything, so we slaughtered our hogs, and we used that meat. It was always some fat back or something in the food. So when I got older, I found out that the food that I'm buying in the store is not like the same food that we raised on the farm, because our animals were all organic. So then you start having health issues. So I started using smoked peppers, that smoky taste in the greens and the collards. It was coming from the ham hocks and the fatback. But I use smoked peppers in my greens and my collards. Oh. And everybody's looking for the meat, and there's no meat, but that taste is there. And they're from hickory smoked peppers. And I put a little jalapenos in my peppers. I did bring my wok to the garden one day, and I had cooked some jalapeno cornbread the night before, and we had collards and cornbread for lunch that day. So I'm going to do that again.
Okay.
Highly appreciate it.
I would say in closing, even if you don't want to do something on a large scale, just grow something. Even if you just have a balcony and a couple flower pots, just grow something.
Since it opened in June of 2022, Turtle Island has provided neighborhood customers with fresh, nutritious produce from more than 20 local growers. And education is always at the heart of it all. Customers receive a recipe card with each purchase that shares ideas on how to prepare the fresh food. The stand at Turtle Island is open to the public and will continue to recruit more local food producers and host more events and classes once the commercial kitchen is constructed. That's all we have for you today, and thank you for joining us. As we mentioned in our comeback episode, back on episode 40, we are exploring a new format where we'll share the mic with guest hosts across the South. Up next will be a conversation with our very first guest host, Dr. Karama Neal. We hope you'll check it out. Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts so others can find us. You can also listen to the Black Belt Podcast on most streaming platforms, including Spotify and Amazon Music. This episode was produced and edited by Katrina Dupins and Prentice Dupins Jr., with theme music composed by Prentice Dupins Jr. I'm Adina White, executive producer and founder. Black Belt is a production of Black Belt Media. Connect with us on social media and at blackbeltvoices.com.